Good morning. How's everybody doing? So far, Jenday and AJ are here, right?
Physically, not spiritually.
Are you a little sleepy, AJ?
That's usually the case. I'm always tired.
Yeah. Really? I have one of my sons always says the same thing too every day. He's like,
I have a
I'm so
feel
tired.
everything around me is tired. She was just asleep a few minutes ago. Uh,
All right. Okay, so I'm using a different camera, so my lighting is real bad today. So just so you know. And I don't seem to be able to look in the right place because my camera is a little too low where it is. But it is what it is. At least you can see me, right? All right. All right. So anyone else want to share anything? AJ's tired, but he said that's always the case. Ashley, Jenday, how are you doing?
Good.
Yay. Did you guys see that I graded the quiz?
Yes.
Yay. I went through all of them. And overall, I think they were pretty good. Obviously, there's some confusion over, is it a permutation, is it a combination? But that's to be expected. So, and what I was surprised about was there was more confusion over the OR probabilities. A lot of people were multiplying them instead of adding them. So that was interesting. It must be windy outside. Has anyone been outside this morning? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I walked out there for a minute, but I didn't notice it was windy. Well, I did have several perfect scores on the quiz, which was nice. And I had some really high grades on the quiz, which was nice. So, excellent. Hi, Amanda. We were just sharing. Some of us are tired. I was asking if it was windy. Nobody knew. Do you have anything going on? You or Yesenia?
No, I have to get new tires this morning, so that's about $500 for me.
That's awful. That is a terrible thing. I know it's like you have to get it, but you don't want to pay the money.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
buying a dishwasher, right?
Yeah.
Like who wants to spend money on that?
And then they were like, yeah, and you're gonna need an alignment too, but we don't do that here. So cool. I got that to do as well.
Yeah, it's something. I have one tire that seems low sometimes, and my husband keeps saying, why don't you take it in, you know, to have them look at it, because we got tires not that long ago. And I'm like, what? Wait, I don't want to do that. Can you do that? Because I don't want to. So apparently he thinks I'm supposed to do it since it's my car. But I've decided that's not true. Oh, Yesenia, I never told you. We've got glasses from I Buy Direct for my daughter, and she picked out 2 pairs. She hates one of them. She loves the other one, but the one she hated were like so cheap.
Yeah.
I said, don't return them, just keep them. She thinks they're a little too big for her face, but she really liked the other ones. So I told her we can just order more.
Yeah, you can order like 6 pairs for the price of one if you go to the eye doctor.
Yeah. So I meant to tell you, you did a great job recommending it, and I've recommended it to others.
Yes,
so
very smart. I know. I've had some that I don't like, and then I just keep them in my car at all times, so then I will never have to use them.
Right, exactly. Well, and then if your glasses break, you still have them.
Exactly.
They might be hideous, but at least you can see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna see if we can order her maybe at least 1 or 2 more. The problem is the ones she really likes don't come in the color she wants.
Oh.
So, and she's like, so pretty funny. So anybody else who needs to order glasses, try iBuy Direct. Like it a lot. All right. So anybody else have anything to share? Angelina, Malachi, welcome. By the way, how much do you love that alligator on the screen? I'm going to say it's an alligator, not a crocodile. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, I'm not dreaming. It's me. It's my Bitmoji and my alligator. Yeah. Did any of you use Bitmojis or Memojis and then you've sent an inappropriate one on accident? Anyone have that happen? Yeah. Well, the good news is I only did it once. The bad news is I sent it to my boss. Not on purpose. I thought it said number 1, like this, but it was a different finger. So not good. That was a bad plan, right? Yeah, bad planning. Okay, so today we're going to get started unless anybody else has anything to share. We are continuing compound interest from yesterday. And, oh good, Jen Day, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're going to do a warm-up problem just to make sure everybody knows how to do compound interest. And then I'm going to show you a new way to do those problems. And then you can choose which way you do it on the test. I don't care. And then, so we're going to do 2 practice problems like that. And then I'm going to put you in breakout rooms to complete a worksheet of like 10 problems. And that'll be a good way for me to come into your rooms and help you individually, you know, instead of, because some of you work real fast and some of you need more help and whatever. So it's just easier that way. Okay. So here is the question. How much money will you need to invest now in order to have $5,000 in 5 years at an interest rate of 2% compounded annually? And it's round to the nearest cent. So does anybody need me to put the formula sheet in the chat? Or do you have it handy? Okay, so I'll put it in there 1 sec. Because I had it up. And now I lost it, of course. Stupid me. Oh, there it is. Okay. So here is the formula sheet. If you need it, think about which formula you need. Again, make your little key or highlight things that are important. And then when you have an answer, just privately chat me your answer. Okay. I'll give you a couple minutes to work on that. If you have questions, message me your questions too. All right, so I have a few correct answers so far. Okay. I have a couple people that need to correct theirs, and then I have no answer from a couple people. So we're doing this warm-up problem, Aaron and Olivia, and just privately message me your answer when you're done. All right, so let's talk about this one. Some of you are still struggling on how do I know which formula to use? So you have to be real careful, okay? So the question says, how much do I need to invest now? If I'm investing now, what is that called? Which letter is that in my formula?
Is it the principal?
Yeah, that's the principal. So we're looking for the principal. That's really important that you know that to start, okay? Then, okay, we're gonna read the rest, and it says we wanna have $5,000 in 5 years. So tell me what letter is the 5,000 and what letter is the 5 years?
Your 5,000 is your amount.
Very nice. And T is the 5 years, right? And it's already in years, so we don't have to worry about it, right? So we're good. Now it says your interest rate is 2% and it's compounded annually. As soon as you see that, you should know, okay, R is 2%, which as a decimal is 0.02. And when it says compounded, that tells me which formula I need to use, right? So I need to use the compound interest formula. And since P is what is missing, the formula I need to use is P equals A divided by 1 plus R over N to the N times T power. So, but there's one variable we didn't label yet, and that's N. How do I know what N is?
N is going to be 1 because it says compounded annually.
Very nice. And when it says compounded annually, then it's just 1. So the hard part is what we just did, right? The easy part is putting it in our calculator. So first of all, reading the problem, figuring out which formula to use, and identifying all of the pieces. That's the hard part, right? The calculator does the rest of the work for you. So when you enter that in, you get 5,000 divided by 1 plus 0.02 over 1 to the 1 times 5 power. And I think Desmos is the easiest calculator to use, but if you want to use a different calculator, that's fine. Just make sure you know how to get to your exponent. Make sure you put in those parentheses and everything like that. So your answer should have been $4,528.65. And a lot of you got that, but a couple of you found A instead of P. And if you found A, you won't get the right answer. So really check in reading wise and say, okay, is the number I'm looking for bigger or smaller than the number they gave me? That will help you see if you're finding principal or amount. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions on this one? You all right? Okay, so you have to identify all of those things. I already gave you the formula sheet. Now, when we do compound interest formulas, we can use the calculator in these formulas, just like we did with simple interest, just like we were just doing. Or you can use an app called the TVM solver. Now, the TVM solver is on this type of calculator, if you have this type of calculator. So if you have this calculator, how you access that is you hit the apps button. It says APPS. And then the very first choice should say finance. And you just hit enter. And then the first thing is TVM solver. And it's called time value money is what that is. Okay. So, but we have an app for it because we didn't want you to have to buy a calculator if this was your very last math class. So we made this app that simulates this same thing, and it's very helpful. Now, if you're like, oh my gosh, why is she giving me something new when I just figured out how to do these problems? You don't have to use it, right? But some of you who are struggling with the formulas, this might help you. Okay, so I just put it in the chat and I'm going to show it to you. And we're going to first go over what they mean, and then, which is on your formula sheet. And then we're going to do 2 of the problems from yesterday's worksheet using the TVM solver. Okay. And then we're going to do new problems, which whatever way you want to do it. If you want to use the formulas, if you want to use the TVM, I don't care, but you're going to show me your work either way. So let me pull up that app so you can see it. It looks like this, time value of money solver. So it says enter the given values. Do you see that? It says enter the given values. So this is going to do the formula for you. Now, you still have to identify all these pieces. So if you look at your formula sheet, I have all of these written here. Now, do you see how it's a capital N instead of a lowercase n? Do you see that on my formula, on my thing here? So, and if you look on your formula sheet, I've defined that for you. So it's a little bit different. That's why it's a capital N. So it is the N times T together. So it's your lowercase n times your T. So you know how we do that in our formula? You would put that in your TVM solver. So for example, on the one we just did, we would put in 1 times 5. I wonder if it'll let me use that. Okay. So maybe on this one it doesn't. We just have to put in 5. We might have to do that math for us. I don't think it'll let us do it. On this one, you can put in 1 times 5 or 10 times 5 or whatever you need to on a calculator. All right. The other difference is on this one, you put it in as a percent, your interest rate. So you do not change it to a decimal. So on this problem, so I'm going to put a 5 here. On this problem, we had a 2% interest rate. Okay, so I would just put in a 2. I'm not going to put in 0.02. So if you're switching back and forth between these, you need to be careful because the rules are different. Hopefully you'll figure out, oh, I really like this one formula, or I really like this app. Now, PV stands for present value. Okay, so that's your principal. So in this case, we didn't know our principal. So we're just going to leave it as 0. We don't have payments yet because we're not going to do payments until we do loans and annuities. Okay, so just leave that alone at 0. FV stands for future value, which is the same as the amount. Okay, so FV is A. Okay, and we know A in this case, we wanted it to be $5,000, right? Wasn't that what we were trying to do? Okay, so now this PY, payments per year, and compounds per year, those two for us will always match, and it's the same as N. So in our case, N was 1. Okay, and if you're doing it on your calculator, you will enter in all these just the same. Now, I want it to find present value. I want it to find PV. So I'm going to hit solve. Do you see how it said 4528.65? And that was the answer that we had. Now it gave us an extra digit, but we would just round. Why do you think it's negative? Why do you think it says negative $4,528.65? Any ideas why it would say that?
Is it because that's how much you put in?
Yeah, you have to pay that money, right? So don't put a negative in your answer in more, but just know that's why it's saying it's negative, because you have to put in that money to get that 5,000. Is everybody okay with that? So we did this problem without this, right? We did it with our formula and we got the right answer. But we could use this app. Make sense? Okay, even if you don't like it, try it on a problem because you're going to need it when we do loans, because it's so much easier when we do loans. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to do the problem from yesterday, which was number 1. And if you have your yesterday stuff, you can pull it out. Otherwise, just do it brand new. And I just want you to see that we're going to get the same answer. So read through this problem. We'll do it together. See if you can fill in what you would write for all of these things. Okay. What is capital N? What is I? What is PV? Payment, we're going to say is 0. FV, PY, and CY. So think about that for a minute, and then I'll call on you and ask you questions, okay? All right, I'm just going to go by where you are in order on here. So, AJ, what would capital N be?
300.
No, N is going to be the number of compounding times it is. So it's going to be lowercase n times t. Lowercase n times t. So 1 is lowercase n. How many years is it?
Years, about 10.
10. So what you're going to put in here is 10. 1 times 10. That was kind of a hard one because it was different. Ashley, what am I going to put in for I, where it says I%?
Would you put 5?
Yep. And you just leave it 5. You don't change it to 0.05. Okay. Yesenia, what would I put for PV?
Would you put negative 300?
You could put negative 300, absolutely. If you put 300, it's okay. It'll just make the answer negative. So it's okay, but negative 300 is great. And why did you think it would be negative, Yesenia?
Because that's how much you deposited, so that's how much you're putting down.
Yeah, you have to pay that money. So that's why Yesenia said it would be negative. Good job. So payment already says 0. So FV, what are we going to put in FV, Amanda? Any idea?
We just leave it blank because we don't know what the future value is going to be.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. So sometimes to get through it, it'll just default at 0, right? When you see the app. So it'll just default to 0. But this is what we're looking for. Okay, so I like to highlight that so I remember that's what I'm looking for. And then PY and CY are always the same, and that is lowercase n. So what is that going to be, Jen Day? How many times is this compounded? Jen Day, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so it says compounded annually. So how many times is it compounding in 1 year?
As in, what do you mean by that? Like repeating?
So remember we talked yesterday, if it says semi-annually, that means twice a year. If it says quarterly, that means 4 times a year. If it says monthly, that would be 12 times a year. If it says daily, it's 365 times a year. So what does it mean when it says annually? If it says this is our annual sale, how many times a year does that happen?
I think once a year.
Yep, just once, just once. So you're going to put a 1 here for PY and CY. Okay?
Okay.
Excellent. Now, if we were using the formula, we would be using the formula for A or for P. Which one do you think, if we were using the formula? This isn't to Jen Day, this is to Valerie. If we were using the formula, would we use our formula for A equals or our formula for P equals?
AP?
So we already know P because it's right here.
Oh, A.
So we want to use the formula for A. So if you were using the formula, this is the formula you would use. And I know sometimes it's painful when I call on you and you're unsure, but this is the hardest part, right? And so I want to make sure we spend time on the hardest part because the easy part is putting it in our calculators, right? Okay, so you can do it either way you want, right? Either way, it doesn't matter. And then I'll show you, and then I'll have you do the next one. So there's mine. So I'm going to put in all the information that we just said, okay, into this. And you could be doing it right now too, so you know. So I'm going to put a 10 here because it was 10 years. I'm going to put 5 here because it was 5%. I'm going to put in negative 300 because that's how much I'm putting down. And then I'm going to solve for FV, and PY and CY were already 1. So now you can see this is exactly what I just wrote down on that slide, right? And now I'm going to hit solve for this one. Do you see it gave me $488, and then it said 0.6683 or 6683. Okay, so that's my answer. And if I used the formula, I would get the same thing. How many of you got it when you used this little app that I just showed you? Did anyone try it? Yeah, it's not bad, right? It's kind of nice. You're like, why didn't she show us this yesterday? Right?
I used my calculator, the TI 84.
Yeah, and did you get the same thing?
Yeah, I finally got it. I like caught on to it last night after I like how to find the answer. That alpha enter, and I got
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then notice I put that on the formula sheet too, right? So if you're using a TI 84 or 83, they both have it. And you look at your formula sheet, it says put your cursor on the one you're trying to figure out and then hit alpha and enter. Because there's no real solve button on this, you have to hit alpha and enter. So just in case you're using this. Okay. All right, so good job. Now I want you to do this one. It's a different question, so make sure you read it carefully. It says, how much would you need to deposit in an account now in order to have $2,500 in the account in 5 years? Assume the account earns 2.5% interest compounded monthly. So even if you're a little nervous, you should be able to fill in all these or use the formula. I don't care. Okay. When you have your answer, privately message me that answer. Okay. And if you have a question, feel free to ask a question too. Malachi, good job. Aaron, good job. Yesenia, good job. AJ, good job. Make sure you're sending me messages if you have any trouble. Very nice, Olivia. Good job, Amanda. Okay, did I get an answer from everyone? Yep, I got AJ, Aaron, Amanda, Yesenia, Malachi, Olivia. All right. So when you do this problem, most of you are getting stuck on what you need to enter in. So if you're using this app, you'll look at this side. And this is the work that you show me on your quiz. There'll be a chart right there and you can just fill it in. Now, here's the gotcha. If you fill it in wrong, you're going to have a problem. Okay? So let's go over what capital N means. So capital N, it's defined on your formula sheet as the number of compounds, okay? So on your formula, it's this part, this lowercase n times t, which lowercase n is the number of compounds in 1 year. And since this one says monthly, we're going to put in 12. And then the total number of years is 5. So we're going to put in 12 times 5, which would be 60. Did anyone figure out? I think you have to put in 60. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it lets you. Now, if you're using the calculator, like a real calculator, like a TI-84, it'll let you put in 12 times 5. Okay. Then for interest, remember, if you're using the calculator, you just put in 2.5. You don't change it at all. Notice I have PV with a question mark because that's what I'm looking for. This is the part that I'm solving for because it says how much do I need to deposit now to have $2,500 later. So my $2,500 goes in future value. So in other words, 2,500 is my A and my P is what I'm looking for. Okay. And then PY and CY are 12. Why are they 12?
Because it's compounded monthly.
Very nice, Olivia. So that's your lowercase n, you're compounding monthly. So that's why it's 12. Now, notice I did it over here with the formula too. And either way, I would get the same answer. I would get 2206.5. And when I'm rounding, I would get 53 cents. Okay. And I can show you with the app just to make sure everybody remembers what they're doing. So I'm going to put in 12 times 5 is 60. Interest rate is 2.5. My present value is what I'm looking for. My payment is 0. My future value is what I have of 2,500. And then PY and CY are 12. And I'm going to click solve right there. And I get the same answer. If you were getting a number that was larger than $2,500, it's because you were solving for A instead of P, or you were solving for FV instead of PV. So the app is very helpful as long as you know where to put things. The problem is when you take the test, if you put something in the wrong place, it's like using the wrong formula, right? So I can't give you much credit for that. So you have to be real careful and make sure you're thinking it through. Okay, any questions on how to use that? Are you all right? Okay, so now you're going to do some practice problems. I think there's like 10. I should have given you this worksheet already. I don't know what I was thinking. Sorry about that, because I had the warm up on there and those first 2 problems on there. I thought I did. Hold on, let me find them. Now I've lost my whole paper. Oh no, I didn't. I didn't have it on there. I had a separate paper. So on these problems, I don't care if you use the formula or the app, but you have to show your work. Yeah. So make sure you show your work. I'm going to put you in breakout rooms and I'm going to come in and check on you because if you finish them all, I'll just give you the key. Okay. So you can take a look at it. Otherwise, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms and I'm going to come in and help you individually on them because I think some of you might need some extra help. Okay. So let me make sure you get that worksheet. All right, so I'm going to open your room and I'm going to come in and help you individually, okay? All right.
T, right?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody will be coming back in just a sec.
Okay.
AJ, I'm so sorry I didn't get to come visit you.
It's all right. I'm often forgotten.
How, no, you weren't forgotten. I just had such a busy time. So, AJ, how far do you get? You were the only one I didn't get to check on, I think.
I believe I'm on the. Give me a second. Let me check. I'm on number 8.
Number 8, excellent. Okay, good. So I think most people got at least through half of them, you know, got to like 4 or 5. So if you didn't, that's okay. I want you to finish it just for your own peace of mind that you know how to do it. I thought I had a key with all of my work. I do not see that key. Right now, I do have a key with just the answers. So, and that's linked in our slides. So I'll make sure that those slides are posted after class and you can see those. I think the problems that get a little more challenging. So on number 4, part B, you had to think a little bit. So if you deposited $10,000 and then you have an amount, which part A should have been $27,137.65. Then to calculate part B, how much interest did you earn? You should take that $27,137.65 and subtract 10,000 from it. So you would get the interest that you earned is $17,137.65. So you might have to think that through if you haven't yet. Okay, so I'm going to put up our homework. You have your more practice PF5 that's due tonight, which now you can double check all your answers with your TVM solver if you like that, right? Then you have a reading quiz for PF6. Now PF6 is a little bit different because it's called APY, okay? So it's all about interest rates. And then you have the PF6 more mini lesson will be due tomorrow night, and then the PF6 practice will be due Friday, okay? So you have a lot coming up. Make sure you keep up on that. And then your exit ticket is in the chat. So you can do it. There's 2 questions. One is about simple interest. One is about compound interest. Don't use the TVM solver for the simple interest part. You can use the TVM solver for the compound interest, but not the simple interest. Okay? Solve them both. You don't have to stay on here to do the exit ticket. So if you want to go and do the exit ticket, that's totally fine. If you want to stay and do it, that's totally fine too. I just know that it's already 10:15. So I don't want to stress anyone out who needs to do something before their next class. All right, and have a great day. I love you guys working in breakout rooms. I feel like you get more work done and I can help individuals more.
When it says find the value of the investment, is that pretty much the total, or?
Sorry, let me read it. I'm not on it. Let me read it. You deposit 4,000, find the value of the investment. That means the amount in the account.
Got it. Okay.
For the simple interest question, what formula would we use? I'm looking at like the formula sheet you gave us and I can't figure out, would it be the A equals P times 1 plus R times T?
You can use any of them that
Okay.
say A, or you can just calculate the interest and then add the interest to your principal,
Okay.
right? So you can just take, because like it says you invested what, $4,000 or something?
Yeah.
Okay, so the interest formula is principal times rate times time. Then to find out how much you have in your account, notice that next box says A equals P plus I. So you just take your principal plus your interest. Now, the formulas next to it are just versions of that. So notice that the I in the middle formula is replaced with PRT, which is how you calculate interest. And then the formula on the far right is probably the one that most people use, A equals P parentheses 1 plus RT, because that'll just give you straight to the answer.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna try to